everyone, so this is the US reciprocal tariff situation update bringing to you by SoftLogic Stockbrokers. So we know that early this year in the month of April, USA announced different reciprocal tariff lines for several different countries. So Sri Lanka was also included in that list, and we were announced for a tariff rate of around 44%. And now with the latest update, that was in July, USA announced revised tariff rates for many of the countries in the list. So Sri Lanka has got a reduction by around 14% to mark a rate around 30%. And even other countries have also seen a major reduction, like Vietnam. It has seen a reduction by around 26% to come down to 20% level. And even Cambodia has seen a reduction by around 13%. And some other countries like Bangladesh, Myanmar, they have only seen a minor adjustment. But if you consider countries like Indonesia, Thailand, they have not seen an adjustment at all. On the other hand, countries like Japan, Philippines, they have seen a further increment. So, but still this revised rate stands below 30%. That is below what is announced for Sri Lanka. So amidst all this, if we consider about the apparel exporters, we know Bangladesh, Indonesia, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, these are one of the biggest apparel exporters to USA. So Sri Lanka has a 40% US exposure in terms of their apparel exports. So when you consider all these countries, Sri Lanka currently actually stands safer with a greater reduction. But actually we can't say it is a very safe level, because still these tariff rates are still being negotiated. Several of these countries are anyway opting for further revision. So if these countries be able to get these tariff rates further revised, then it would be actually positive for these countries' economies as a whole. But if you consider Vietnam alone, what we can see is Vietnam got a reduced rate amidst the concessions that they agreed on. So they agreed on various zero tariff level concessions for the imports that they get from US. So that is at the expense of their other trade interests, that Vietnam has been able to get a 20% tariff level. So when you consider USA, what we can see is, since they have announced various tariff lines for many of the countries, there could be a rising inflation levels in USA. So with that, there could be their consumerism could get dampened. So what we could see is probably that their consumer spending might see a downward trend. So that actually affects the economy of USA as a whole, and might ultimately affect major exporters to USA, major countries that are exporting to USA like Sri Lanka. So with that, there could be a negative impact coming in for countries like us. But still, we might be able to see further discussions going on, because even as of our country, we might also opt for further negotiations with USA. So if you look into the equity front, what we can see is some counters like TJL, MGT, DIPT, BPPL, they're having a notable exposure to US market. So when you consider about TJL, they have manufacturing plants not only in Sri Lanka, but they have a plant in India as well as in Egypt. So TJL has a 40% exposure to USA. But with this situation, what the company can do is focus on the US market through its Indian plant, because the tariff rate announced for India is currently at 26%. This has not yet been revised down. So that is about TGL, where they can capitalize on this situation. But for MGT, they don't have any other offshore manufacturing plants. So they do their production at Sri Lanka. So currently they might have to absorb this tariff related pressure. But their business line would be catering to synthetics, high margin products. So that is the edge that MGT has. But all in all, they might have to absorb this pressure that is coming in from this tariff rate. And when you consider DIP products, they have an exposure of around 20% to USA in terms of their hand protection exports. So DIPT has manufacturing plants not only in Sri Lanka as well as in Thailand. So the tariff rate announced for Thailand is higher than for Sri Lanka. So in case to somewhat negate this negative impact, what DIP can do is focus on US market via their Sri Lankan plants. So in that aspect, they might be able to see some reduction in that negative impact. So that's the update about the US tariff implications for the Sri Lankan economy as a whole, as well as for the equity market. Stay tuned for more updates from SoftLogic Stockbrokers.